good crowd today. Thank you all for being here, and try to do as good a job for you on going over this as Bill does. There's some very good information here in the JBS Bulletin this month, and what I've noticed that's being elevated with JBS is a lot more vocal, more presence, and it ties into my philosophy of what is a major problem with the United States in general, where the church made the decision to be silent, and then those with other voices stepped in, and the Christian heritage that we took for granted is slipping away. Well, John Birch Society is making sure that doesn't happen, and they're also asking us to get very involved to make our voices heard. And one of the articles is called "It's Up to Us," and with that stated, then they clarify us means you. So they talk about what we can do to make our voices heard and how to get the message out. As you heard from Ken, the big push is to get 1 million of the new Americans out. But that's the first article. That's up to us, you, and shows that for representation purposes, when we get 1 million of the articles out, the total, if you stack those up, it would be 4.5 times as high as the Sears Tower. So what an undertaking. Phenomenal thing that's being done. And then one of the agenda items is Stop the NAU, and tells us what we can do on that to further the cause of getting the stopping of that. A great article in here also is talking about member outreach. And when we're facing so many things, so many agenda items that need to take place, it can be overwhelming to think how many activities, how many things need to be brought up. There's so many things to contact our legislators about, so many battles, and they give a large number of things that can be done here. On the second page, and the member outreach, there's probably, say, over 30 action items that can be taken. And what's important to do when you're looking at these kind of activities and the things that need to be done to help the cause is, rather than looking at that and saying, gosh, there's so much to do, how can I do all that? Pick 1 or 2, maybe 3 of these things that you can actively get involved in. One thing you can do is make phone calls to your legislators, send faxes, but pick some things out of here to be active. And if everybody will get involved, then we can have the same fulfillment that Jesus told us to do, to go out and spread the word, make the truth be known. And if we'll all do a little bit, all stay active, like passing out the cards, doing the things to keep other people educated, then we can have a tremendous impact. Obviously, another way to have that big impact is to contribute to the distribution of the 1 million articles. And there's an article, the President's Corner. I gained a lot from this one, and I'd actually like to read some of this one. We've heard the term neoconservative a lot, and I see a lot of things going on. I see things I disagree with, but as far as the definition of neoconservative, they make some very good clarification here of what that actually means. And he quotes some people who are labeled as the godfather of neoconservatism. And one of the statements here is, he wrote that small but talented group of which he was a part accepted the New Deal in principle and had little affection for the kind of isolationism that then permeated American conservatism. He's talking about the New Deal that was put in place. There you have a definition of neoconservatism. Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal is socialism, the very antithesis of Americanism. Then he talks about the book by Irving Kristol, where he praised the idea of the conservative welfare state, and he says that his hero was Trotsky. That's who he had based his opinions on to push the ideas of neoconservatism. Then he also lists some of the people who are more commonly known as the current neocons, including Richard Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, Paul Wolfowitz, Robert Gates, and then media luminaries such as Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity, who consistently defend the indefensible while persuading the unwary that current U.S. policies are constitutional and beneficial. Every time I hear Sean Hannity's voice, I always think of a chihuahua in Bush's lap. It sounds like one, and it's the image I get every time I hear that guy's voice. Then he quotes William F. Buckley, who has been considered by some as a conservative hero, and he quotes Buckley from back in 1952, before the term neoconservative was even coined. He said, "We've got to accept big government for the duration, for neither an offensive nor a defensive war can be waged except through the instrumentality of a totalitarian bureaucracy within our shores. We must support large armies and air forces, atomic energy, central intelligence, war production boards, and the attendant centralization of power in Washington." So then he goes on with some more, but great understanding here of what the neoconservative agenda is, and it brought clarity of exactly what that whole agenda is. Then there's a lot of action items listed. That's on page 5, and these are, you probably all follow these, but there's several items that need to be followed up on, and those are listed as high priority and medium priority and then low priority. Ken mentioned the Law of the Sea Treaty that's been put up for vote now. A horrible law, so contact your legislators on that. Then the North American Union, contact your representatives and senators regarding House Concurrent Resolution 22 to let them know that you're opposed to that. There's also House Concurrent Resolution 40, and that states that the United States should not engage in the construction of a North American Free Trade Agreement, superhighway system, or enter into a North American Union with Mexico and Canada. So contact your representatives and senators about that one as well. And then there's the Clean Water Restoration Act. You notice so many of these acts and legislation all sound so great. Like there's another one here, the hate crimes legislation. Oh, obviously we shouldn't hate. And then there's the Gang Abatement and Prevention Act. Well, who wants gangs and who wants to not abate them? So a lot of those kind of things that have the great sounding names that are going to take away freedom. So the Clean Water Restoration Act would transfer more power to the federal government, infringe upon the rights of landowners, and that is HR 2421 and S 1870. And then the President's making an effort to make the eavesdropping bill permanent, and so let your legislators know what you feel about that one. Then there's also another push to ban assault weapons. Again, the buzzwords to try to get more people on board. The assault weapon is basically anything with a trigger, in my opinion. I don't know of a gun that's not made for shooting, so they want to put a different label on it to get people on board to fight against that. If that one's passed, it's going to be even worse than the previous assault weapons ban, and that is HR 1022. Then I mentioned the hate crimes legislation, and that's sponsored by Senator Ted Kennedy, and it would usurp the state's rights to solely punish crimes already covered under state law if they can be arbitrarily identified as hate crimes. Well, I'm just not aware of anybody that's ever committed a love murder. So it just seems logical that this idea of a hate crime is, obviously there's an agenda there. And then there's a move to remove the tax off of tips, and that would be HR 3664, and they're urging you to let your representative know you're in favor of reducing the tax there for people who receive tips. Then there's information about things going on with members in action. Again, that can give you more ideas of what you can do to be active and productive for the society. And it lists talking points for how you can share JBS ideas with other people and with your representatives. Then on the back page, it has some more information about Youth Meets Truth. It doesn't cover our camp, but I guess these are ones that happened since.
Yeah, ours was in one of the last issues. Yeah.
So a lot of activity going on there to educate the youth, and lots of fun. So anyway, great information, and this information is also available online, so you can access the JBS Bulletin directly. So good information.
Thank you so much, Greg.